Alright, so a year ago, my dad for Christmas bought me some leather. And it's this leather here. I'll try to pull it on camera. It's a big side of 8 ounce. It's like 7 to 8 ounce leather. And I've done some small projects with some lighter leather that I bought. But my dad at the time, he knew that I was into leatherworking, but didn't know exactly what to get and didn't want to ruin a surprise for Christmas. So he bought me this, which is very heavy, and I just haven't had a use for it. So here we are about a year later, and I finally decided what to do with it. I'm going to make an arm guard, a bracer, and I'm going to give it to my wife as a Christmas present for her. So earlier today, I designed an arm guard on Photoshop, brought it into Cricut, and cut it out. I'll do like a little insert video here of that process. And so here's the template made out of cardstock, and here's the leather that I'm going to use. So let's get started and make my wife a bracer. So let me first kind of look around and see where the best place is to do this from. Now I don't mind if it's a little bit beat up, because I just frankly don't like my wife enough to care. No, let's see. Because it's a bracer and it's a piece of armor, and I don't really mind if there are field marks on it. Maybe right here. Might cut it out of that piece right there. Let me take a look at it again. Yeah, I think that'll work. Let's see where we are on the camera here. Okay. So let me scribe it out, and then I'll reset and actually cut it. Yeah, okay. So I don't know how well it's going to come out on camera, but I can see those scribe lines just fine. So I'm going to be, I'll punch the holes in it in a minute. But this is going to be a little fiddly with the camera, but I mean, all I'm going to do is cut it out. So if I edit this part out or whatever else, if you can't see it, just know that all I'm doing is cutting it out. I'm cutting it out with an X-Acto knife. Because I have these corner pieces. I've done it with a box cutter in the past, but I think I'd rather use an X-Acto on this. And I'm going to be using this as a straight edge. Now when you're doing it, I don't have a lot of woodworking experience, frankly. But one thing I do know is that here's my scribe line, I don't want to put my straight edge on this side, because if I make a mistake, I'll be cutting into the work. So I'd rather do this, so that way if I make a mistake, it goes out towards my excess piece of leather. So I'll start here, and then I'll move. Now with this X-Acto knife, it does take me several passes to go all the way through. I like to make light cuts. Alright, get out of the way. So, that's that. Go ahead and put my template back on top. And mark out my little grommet holes here. I made these a little bit big, but it's okay. I'm just gonna try to get for the center. There we go. And I can go ahead and punch those out as well. Alright, I can't find my little rivet setter deal. And I have to buy more of these anyway, because I don't think I have enough to make eight pet sets. So I'm going to go and buy some more of these, hopefully soon. Maybe later today. But in the meantime, I'll use my little wing divider thing, and I'll put a border on the inside. So let's go ahead and do that. I've got this set to 1 inch. And I'm just going to use this to kind of scribe a line. Alright, I'm going to go back with the X-Acto. Go back with the X-Acto and sharpen up these lines. Whew. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. I don't know how that looks on camera. Hopefully it looks better than it does in real life. It's okay, but it could be a lot better. Alright, I'm gonna get set up now, and I'm going to case this and stamp it out. Alright, so I'm going to case the leather now, put a little bit of water on it and wipe it off, and that'll help the stamp. It'll help the leather stamp a little bit better. So I'm just going to spray it and then rub it down with a little bit of a cloth. Don't want to put too much. I think that might be good enough for now. So I'm going to be using this stamp. Let me see if I can. Whoa, that is the back of the stamp. There we go. I'll try to find out what the number is and put it on the screen so you can see what it is I'm using. But this, I'm going to, since this is the top of the arm, so it'll be worn like, oh, let me back up this camera. Alright, so since it's the back of the arm, it'll be worn like that. I think I want the scales to go down. Yeah, I want these scales to go down. So the tricky part is I have to go at the point towards the wrist. Now the tricky point here is that they really should be perfectly, like, we don't want them to curve in, right? So I don't want to follow these two lines. I want it to be as if I could draw perfectly straight lines like that. That's how I want it. So I'll probably start as dead center as I can and just try to do a row going down, and then try to just keep it like that and just try to keep it adjusted as I go. But this is my first time ever using a stamp like this, so we'll see how it goes. I'll check back in a minute. Alright, so I want you to look at this, but I don't want you to look at it closely. I want it to kind of look like this, like, look how good it looks moving around. No, really, I'm pretty happy with that. It's the first time I've ever done anything like this. And all this border stuff, I'm going to get like a backgrounder stamp or beveler and bevel and like hide all that inside of a some kind of detail. So I'm not so worried about this outside. I do want to practice that in the future, though. Oh, am I on camera? I do want to practice getting these edges a little bit better, but again, I'm gonna fix that later. I'm done for tonight. I'm gonna come back to this tomorrow, and we'll do the edge work, and we'll do that, and we'll put the holes in and the things, and then we'll lace it up, and it'll be pretty much done. Oh, I'm gonna tan it as well, or dye it as well. So pretty happy with that, though. Alright, so it's a new day. Yesterday I finished all the scalloping with one stamp that I had, but I need a border stamp to go around the side. I've since realized I shouldn't have probably carved these lines. I should have just left them as a scribe line, since I don't have a beveling tool, which I will get to in the future. But this is my first time doing this. I think it's going to be okay. So I went out and bought a stamp that I didn't have to kind of blur the edges a little bit. And here, I'll show you this. This is the one that I was using. This is this one. And it's the leather. Hold on, I'll show you in a second. It looks like that. I mean, obviously it makes an indentation like that. Let me zoom in. This Silver Creek Leather Company G876. The one that I bought is the G606. Yeah, the D606. Delta 606. And it looks like that. It's a little bit more flat and a little squattier. And I think that's going, but it otherwise is the same pattern. So I'm going to use this to go around the sides and blur these lines. Also, I realized that, let me see if I can find a good example. Here's one. Here. There we go, right there. You can see I went outside the line. I did that several times. I really should have just like not done that stamp at all, because this stamp here is plenty enough to cover that space that would otherwise be there. There we go. So just for the future, I'll know to leave much more of a gap around the border. But anyway, this leather's already cased. I'm just going to go ahead and start working these. This is not going to be perfectly spaced to fit every single, I mean, obviously I didn't measure this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the ends, and I'm going to work my way towards the middle, so that if there's kind of a weird gap or something like that, it's somewhere in the middle and not on the corners. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and start stamping. So here's a weird spot where this stamp doesn't, I mean, it almost fits in between. I'd probably put it here, and it would be like a little bit of a gap to this side. If I put it here, it'd be a gap to that side. So I'm just going to split the difference. That's why I want to work them in the middle, because I think you won't see that gap if I just kind of split the difference and put it in there. Right there-ish. There we go. I mean, honestly, it looks pretty ugly, but it's my first one. I think it's going to be okay. So I'm going to go up the sides now. Alright, so don't look too closely. Like I said yesterday, just kind of look at it like while it's moving like this. That's the optimal. Yeah, you can't tell. No imperfections like that. No, definitely 100% imperfections, but I think it's going to be okay. I think it's still really pretty. Okay, only a couple things to do. I'll do this all in one take. I'm going to take my hole punch, and I'm going to set it to the biggest one. I was going to put these grommets in there. What you call these grommets or eyelets, Dad?
Eyelets.
I was going to put these eyelets in here, and there we go. But I don't have the setting tool. Either I lost it or it didn't come with the pack that I bought. And I think there's a way you can do it with like pliers and a hammer, but I'm not going to mess with that. I've already done too much experimenting on Victoria's gift. So I'm just going to not do these. And in fact, the Weaver Leather Supply video that I watched that taught me how to do this, he doesn't use one anyway. He just puts the holes in here, and then the lace goes through the holes, so there's no metal on the, well, there is metal actually. He puts spots in there. But anyway, so I'm just going to leave them out, but I would like to in the future put some grommets, some eyelets in there. But anyway, I'm going to go to the biggest setting on my leather punch here, and I'm going to punch out these 4 holes. There we go. This is the first time punching out 8-ounce leather. This stuff is thick. Okay. And then I'm going to bevel these edges. I need to go grab my beveler. I'm going to bevel the edges because the next thing to do is to dye it. Yeah, I'm going to dye it next. So, 1 second. Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to use a little beveler tool here. There we go. Oh my goodness. All right, full disclosure, I'm using a new setup with the camera, which is really, really rad, but it's gonna take me a bit of learning to do to get everything right. Anyway, I'm just gonna go around and bevel off these hard corners, hard edges, I mean to say. think it's time to dye. So now I'm gonna go dye it. My friend let me borrow, thank you Randon if you're watching this. My friend let me borrow a airbrush. And I have never used an airbrush. So I'm gonna go outside and learn how to use an airbrush. and then I'm gonna dye this. And then I'm going to antique it. And then I'm going to finish the edges. I'm gonna slick the edges. And then I think we're gonna be done. Okay, so that was the first time airbrushing something. I think it came out pretty good. I did intentionally leave it a little bit kind of mottled. I wanted to go a little bit heavier around the edges as well. But I think it looks pretty nice. So we're kind of to the finishing steps here. I'm going to put some dark brown antique finish on it. Then after that dries, I'm going to do top coat of some leather balm. And then I'm going to finish the edges with gum tragacanth. Gum tragacanth. And then it's done. So let's go ahead and put this antique finish on. So I'm not really crazy about this area right here. It got much darker than the rest of it. Like on the high parts of the scales. Put a little bit of this leather balm on there. Where am I at here? Really unhappy with the way that looks. And some of these other parts, these parts are okay. But I don't know why it sucked in right there like it did. Alright, and then last step is to put the gum tragacanth on the sides and burnish it. And then I'll lace this up. And then we'll be done. In fact, I can go ahead and take off this backing now.
What does that do?
Oops. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna use some paracord for now, or some other kind of lace I can find, and lace this up, and then we'll talk about it. But that's the end of the project for now. Alright, so we are, I think, done with this project. I'm going to give you my final thoughts real quick. I just put a piece of paracord with an Ashley stopper knot on each end. I'll probably trim off this excess, but I want to get it on her arm and stuff like that before I take all this off. But anyway, I also would rather not be using paracord for this, but like some kind of leather lace or something, but I don't have any right now, so this is easy to switch out in the future. So I'll probably switch this out in the future. But there we go. Let me see if I can back up a little bit with the camera. There we go. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, I think it's great for my first one. She's gonna love it. She doesn't know she's getting it, so I think it'll be fun. And I'll make another one for her other arm probably in the future, and I'll do a couple of things differently. One, I won't carve this border here. I'll know to leave more space for this kind of camo border. I'm gonna look up antiquing and see what I did wrong with the antiquing to give it this kind of look. I'm not crazy about that. Everything else I'm actually pretty happy with. The edge work is fine. It feels good. I like the color. So I'm really happy with everything else. And the design, I made the design myself. Well, I made the design. I mean, I measured it up and put it in Photoshop. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If there are any leather workers out there, please tell me what I could have done differently. And I will absolutely take that into account for next time. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you being a part of this. See you.